What is happening? Welcome to my channel. My name is Matt Bradford. Obviously, we're in a different setting today. We are in my shop. Please excuse the mess. It was enough work just cleaning the workbench, let alone cleaning the entire shop. It is a working shop. Today, we're going to talk about guitar electronics. And this came from somebody was asking me about changing out pickups, and it's not that hard to do. And then I had a jack go bad, and it was like, oh man, it's so quick just to do it. And the more I thought about it, the more it's like, I remember how mystifying guitar electronics was to me for a while. And it's not that hard. So the purpose of this video is to help you understand guitar electronics. Hopefully at the end, at the very least, you can make your own cables, right? Because this is a short one, but this is a Canary cable, Neutrik tips, right? It would be, I mean, God knows what it would cost in a store. And I think this cost me like, $15 to make. So you can get super high quality cables for less expensive, be able to replace your own jacks or be able to replace your own pickups or at least know what's going on. And then also, this is gonna go in two parts. We're gonna do a theoretical part on paper. And then we're gonna do another part where I'm building a guitar at the moment, and we're gonna wire it up. And it's gonna be a Tele style guitar. So it's gonna be two pickups, with a three-way blade switch and a master volume, master tone, but these concepts work for anything. So hopefully I can explain it. We'll see how long this video is going to be. It may end up being in parts. I don't know. I can be loquacious. If you want to support the channel, join me on Patreon. The link is in the description below. There's no giveaways today for Patreon. There's no reason to do it unless you just want to support the channel. But there are backing tracks on there a lot and lap steel lesson materials and things like that. So thanks for joining me. Let's jump in. Okay, so look, I'm going to oversimplify some stuff. That's just part of the way this is going to work. But the general idea is this. Your pickup is a coil of wire wrapped around some magnets. Okay, this is a cheap old, I think it's an old Mexican Fender pickup. So the magnets in this case are these two bar magnets here touching slugs that can be magnetized. But there's another one, cheap bar magnet on slugs. The fancier, obviously, the more vintage Fender pickups, these are the magnets themselves, etc. Humbuckers share a magnet underneath. There's a million pickup constructions. We're going to talk about very little of them, but the basic idea is this. You have a coil of wire. It has a start side and a finish side, and I don't know which is which. It doesn't actually matter. And then you have a jack. And so you have a start and a finish here, and you have a jack, and the jack has two pieces as well. And if you've never looked at, let me see if I can get this in focus. If you've never really looked at a jack, watch this. Let's take that cable we were talking about a second ago, put it in here. This is a tip, right? This piece is touching this piece. There is then a divider. There's a plastic divider that goes all the way down. And then there's this piece, which we call the sleeve. So tip and sleeve. This is a TS jack. It's a mono jack, tip and sleeve. The tip is touching this piece here. And if you follow it down here, you can trace it around the wafer to right here. So that is attached to this, which is touching the tip. And then the sleeve is obviously touching this ring here, which if you look, it's also touching this piece here. Where's my chopstick? This piece here, right? And then that goes to this lug here. So you have a tip going to this lug, right? You can trace it. And then the sleeve going to this lug. So now you have a hot and you have a ground, and you've set it up. So this is a start and a finish. It doesn't matter which is which. You hook up one to this side, and again, we're gonna get into the soldering later, but you hook up one to this side, you hook up one to this side, now you have a hot and a ground. That's it. Everything else about guitar electronics is manipulating what's happening in this connection here. So when we make a jack, for example, or we make a cable, for example, and these Neutrik ones are great, there's two sides. You can see in here, are we in focus? Let's see. Okay, we're trying. The internal part here is going through this plastic jacket to the tip, And then this part here, you can see, is attached. It's all, you know, maybe multiple pieces of metal, but it's all one thing. This is touching this, is touching this. So this is all your ground. So again, I took the hot part of my cable here, and again, we're gonna talk about how to find that stuff. The hot part went to hot, ground goes to ground. So we're just taking the output of this and connecting it mechanically to here to here. So making your own cables is simple. And the Neutrik ones are great because they have the strain relief is here. It just goes on, just slips around the cable. Bang, bang. You put your sleeve on there, screw it down. Okay, so that's that, coffee. So now we're going to the paper. You're gonna have to excuse my handwriting. You're gonna have to excuse all the joy that comes with me trying to write and be appropriate. But the idea is this: we have a pickup, and for now, let's draw it like this, nice and simple. See, I'm an artist. Then we have a jack, okay, and the jack goes here. And the way I'm going to draw it, I'm sure there's a million other ways to draw it, but the way I'm going to draw it is this: we had this tab here, right, which is attached to the ring, or to the sleeve rather, to the sleeve, and then this guy here is attached to here. So the way I'm drawing it, and there's a million ways. I think people draw it like this, and I don't know, whatever. It doesn't matter. If I look at a drawing of it, I should have looked at a schematic before I did this. I can read schematics now. Amp builders should be terrified because I'm calling them with questions. But basically, here's my hot, here's my ground. So I have these two cables coming out of here. The way I'm gonna draw it, this is going to ground. This, the sleeve, is going to ground. That symbol right there means ground. Take this other sheet of paper out here. I'm sure I'm gonna need at least both of these. The reason that I draw those to ground as opposed to drawing them to each other is because it's gonna make everything simpler as we get more complex, okay? That's it. And I'm gonna take this hot and I'm gonna draw it to the jack. So that's the same as attaching my hot. I'm gonna go white for hot for now, and black to ground. And if I were to solder these in place, we would have a solid connection. And you can see that this guy here is attached to the post that is not touching this. So that's my hot. Then ground is, you know, here. Okay, so this is the same as this. I have to sneeze. I hope that makes sense. If it doesn't, then the rest of this video is going to be really rough. Now, let's say we have multiple pickups that we want to put to this jack. Well, then we need a switch, right? If I have two pickups, you'll notice this one's also going to ground, but if I just attach them both here, that's called parallel wiring, but you can't select between them. That's not helpful. So we need to go to a switch. I need to get an eraser. I hope you can see how little I planned this. So instead of just drawing it all again, because that would be crazy, okay, so now we need a switch. And again, with something like this is a three-way blade switch. All right, this is gonna go in a telly. And you can see that there is this tab right here. And when I move the switch, that tab moves to this tab right here. It moves to this tab right here. And it moves to this tab right here. Conversely, this tab here is always touching this track. So here, I have this guy connected to this guy, right? It could be a girl. We're not trying to be sexist, right? Boom. Here, we have this guy connected to this guy. And then here, this guy connected to this guy. The original Strats all had a three-way switch, and people would balance that tab between two to get those in-between positions. So a 5-way switch and a 3-way switch work exactly, not all of them. I'm oversimplifying a lot of stuff. We're going to get into more complex stuff as we go. But essentially, you're hot and you're ground. All we're doing here is we're checking our hots. And we're going to make sure that the casing is going to ground somewhere. So a lot of times there'll just be foil. Is there cat hair on my switch? Okay. There'll be foil on the pick guard or whatever. I'm using an aluminum plate, so I'm assuming that this is conductive, although I will check it to make sure. And then that should allow me, this is a Forney Guitars plate, by the way, with a slanted switch, and it's machined aluminum. I asked for some unfinished ones. I have a finished one on one guitar, but these are awesome. Anyway, whatever, aside. Forney Guitars. So, all we're doing is selecting what we want. Now, basically, you know what, let's not get into how the switch works yet. Let's just talk about why we're using it. So, we're going to put the switch here, okay? This is our switch. We'll explain switches in a second. But basically, the way this works is now, if I send an input to here and an input to here, and then I come out of the switch, now I can use multiple pickups. Okay, understanding what each component does. So this is a component, this is a pickup, this is a pickup, it's a component, this is a component, this is a component. Understanding what each component does means that we can understand what's happening. Where is the problem? Oh, one pickup is not working, right? Okay, well, what's the problem? Well, if this pickup works, then the problem is either here or here, but it's not here. Does that make sense? Like whatever we're gonna start adding more stuff. So let's do that. So we have these two pickups. Let's go to a fresh piece of paper here. Okay, we have a pickup here. We have a pickup here. Let's start with one pickup. So this guy, right, goes to ground. We've got a jack over here. Let's say that we want to be able to adjust the volume of this pickup. Well, for that, we need something that will allow us to adjust the pickup. Just throw trash on the floor. So, the way I draw this is facing this way. If I have 3 lugs, 1, 2, 3, 3 lugs, okay? This will be on most wiring diagrams. If you're looking at a schematic, I can't, it's a resistor with like, is it just, I feel like it's this, I feel like it's that. So you have lug 1, lug 2, lug 3, but I don't remember, it doesn't matter, does not matter. For the purposes of what we're looking at here, this is what we're doing. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take one lug, send it to ground. Are you starting to get a idea? I'm gonna explain where ground is once we go to the guitar, once we start wiring the guitar, but one side is going to ground, okay? And so in this case, it's this piece, this lug here is going to ground. And then either of these, the same way, either of these can be a hot or a ground. Either of these can be input or output, depending on the situation, depending on what we're doing. But understanding that I'm basically just gonna go in here, the traditional way to do it on a Fender or on a Gibson Les Paul, probably the most 2 common guitars, right? Fenders and Strats, Tellys, and Les Pauls. Don't hit the camera. Make sure it's still recording, okay. So we're gonna go here, and then we're gonna go here. So I'm coming from the pickup into the volume control, into the jack. Okay, that's it. Understanding that the volume control is a component. A volume control works like this. You have a volume control, okay? And if you're lefty, you gotta go reverse, and we'll get into like what pot, oh God. There's different resistances for different reasons. There's all that stuff. If that was the other reason to start this video, not to get all crazy. Okay, real quick. One of the reasons that that was another reason to do this video. Somebody was asking me about resistances of pots and like, oh, does this one do this or does this one do that? And there's people who are way better at explaining the way pots work than I do, especially the values. But basically, the higher the value of the pot, 250K, allows the least sizzle through the high end. It works great for single coils where they're pretty bright anyway. 500K allows a little more top end through, which is great for humbuckers, things like that. And then 1 meg allows even more sizzle through. It can be, and so when someone is like, yo, should I get a 1 meg pot? The components are not that expensive. So knowing how to do this allows you to experiment without having to pay a luthier to do that, because that can get expensive really fast, especially if you try to do the modification, don't like it, and you got to take it back, and now you're paying what, $40 to have a pot replaced, $30, whatever. I don't even know what it costs anymore. And it depends on the instrument too, obviously. Don't bring me a hollow body. Don't bring me your 335. I hate those. I hate it. I hate having to fish everything out through the pickup cavity and then fish it back in through them. I hate it. I hate it. All right. So back to it. Anyway, there's different values of pot, and the different values of the pot are going to, see, we shouldn't have moved the camera. That was a mistake. I'm gonna give you different values. But basically, this is your volume pot here. And this side goes to ground. We're using an A taper pot, by the way. That's what that's called. There's plenty of resources out there on why we use it. If you're a lefty, you want to use a C taper pot, and you want to put the ground on the other side. Everything reverses. But C taper pot, and then everything reverses. Anyway, and you have an input and an output, or vice versa. Okay, and it depends. On a Jazzmaster, for example, you have these 2 pickups, and they each have a volume control. Okay, and well, okay, so let's just explain why you would use why you would use one or the other. So basically, here we go. Already getting professional. So on a Jazzmaster, for example, you have 2 volume controls, no switch. Okay, so you want to make sure that one volume doesn't accidentally turn off both pickups. So you got to make your output on this tab and your input on the middle tab. Same thing here. Input goes here, this goes to ground, output goes here, and now you have, I mean, technically it goes here, but it doesn't matter either way. When 2 wires are touching at any point, they're all connected. Okay. Anyway, this will not turn the circuit off when you turn one volume knob all the way down. Well, why would you want it to turn the circuit off when one volume knob is all the way down? Well, Les Pauls, where you go to the middle position and it turns everything off, and then you go to the bridge, you know, you can do those Tom Morello chicka 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 thing, you can do all that stuff. That's why you would have it. So there's 2 options depending on what you're doing. It doesn't matter. For the sake of what we're talking about today, understanding that one is in, one is out, and then for your specific purpose, if you look up the wiring diagram of the specific instrument, you're going to see what you need. All right, so volume controls. Does that make sense? I hope it does. We have an input, we have an output, we have a ground, and we can put it anywhere. So you see how we added 2 volume controls? Well, let's say we want to add a switch. Well, we put the switch here, right? And then we disconnect it from here, and we do that. So now we have pickup volume control switch. Pickup volume control switch. So each pickup has its own separate volume control going to the jack. Conversely, I could do 2 pickups, switch, volume control, jack. And now both pickups go to the switch, and then the switch goes to the volume control. So now I have a master volume. I can put this component anywhere in the circuit. I can put this component anywhere in the circuit, depending on what I want it to do. I hope that makes sense. Now, the last thing that we have to talk about before we get into designing our wiring diagram for what we're doing is the tone control. So, all right, the tone control, subject of much debate, the subject of much, all this stuff. I mean, it's just, there's like a bunch of ways to wire it. People are going to argue with you about everything, and I got to be honest with you, I don't have a lot of time for it. It does have an effect on the sound when it's not in the circuit, but not that much. And you know, I love using a tone control. I use it a lot. If you don't, you could completely remove it. It probably wouldn't hurt anything. I mean, it probably wouldn't. It wouldn't hurt anything. Let me explain how it works. Your tone control, there's a couple of ways to do it, right? But they all kind of utilize only 2 tabs on the pot. And so this is a thing I think people have a hard time with. Everything else has an input and an output. What a tone control is doing, though, is kind of, imagine someone is just pouring some water, right? Is that in the shot? Yes, it is. And the water is the frequency spectrum. And all the tone control is doing is slowly coming in and siphoning off some highs, some highs, some highs, until it's letting out only, you know, more low end. Let's say the low end is over here and the high end's over here. So there's no in and out on a tone control. It's just kind of swooping into your signal here and just cutting out a little bit of the signal. So that being said, there's ways to do it. And I'm not even gonna try to do the Fender way versus there's just ways, but you can send this tab to ground, and then you have a capacitor. The capacitor is gonna select what frequencies are rolled off. Okay, and there's common values, 0.047 UF, 0.022 UF, whatever. There's common values, but basically this capacitor goes here and goes to ground. Okay, no, it goes to wherever you're trying to affect, not ground. I lied to you. Don't put that in. That's just, yeah. So this goes to whatever you're trying to affect. So goes to the volume knob, or goes to the switch, or goes to whatever you're trying to affect. This is your little siphon area. Conversely, you could do it like this. Take the tone control, put the capacitor here, either way, doesn't matter. How about here? And then send the capacitor ground, okay? And then use a wire to affect whatever you want to affect. That's it. That's the whole way tone controls work. I'm sure there's more ways. I am oversimplifying a little bit, but I want to like define what's happening. Okay? So that's how that works. There's one last thing. There's 2 more. Oh my God, there's so many things. How far are we in here? Okay, this is gonna be a long video. Let's do the diagram, and I'll explain the stuff as we go through the diagram. Okay, so what I'm gonna have is 2 Firebird pickups. A Firebird pickup is kind of one of my favorite pickups. Okay, it's the wrong thing. It's just the ring that we're not gonna use even. All right, so this is a Firebird pickup. It looks like a mini humbucker. It has more single coily properties, but it's also noiseless. This has what's called a shield on it, right? This top piece here is a shield, and we're gonna use 2 of them. So, you remember when I talked about how this pickup, start and finish, it doesn't matter which one's hot and which one's ground? As we start getting into more complex pickups, and we start getting into pickups interacting with each other, that's when it actually starts to matter. If you ever heard the term out of phase, then you will understand that sometimes the 2 pickups, when you go into the in-between position, sound really quacky and thin. It can be a really nice sound. It is often not the nicest sound. And so one way to fix that is to reverse the hot and the ground, because now you've changed the phase of the pickup. When this goes to hot and this goes to ground, it starts, let's talk about this real quick. It starts your sine wave one way. It starts up and then down. Here's your sine wave. All right, when you flip them, and I flip them, down here, make this hot, make this ground. Now your sine wave starts the opposite way. Cool, we've flipped the phase. This works with speaker cabinets, with speakers, with all that stuff, anything with 2 wires. It works with more wires too, but you gotta know which 2 are the hot and the ground. So, and we're recording and the battery's good? Wow, I'm recording the shop more. All right, so in this case, this pickup has a shield on it, that's ground. It is soldered to the base plate, which is also ground. And then inside the pickup, this cable has this metal jacket on it, which is ground. And you can see I've used this before. This is an older pickup for me. Not older, but like it was in a different guitar. Now it's going in this one. So the way that this works is I stripped the metal shielding back, which is the ground, and then inside is the hot wire. So now we have a defined ground and a defined hot. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Which means now it's no longer, it can be either one. When I have a humbucker, there's a reason, it has these 4 wires coming out because you have 2 coils, each has a hot and a ground, and we'll get into that. We'll get into more complex stuff. This is too much stuff. We can do a whole thing on pickups if you want at some point. Although there are people who are way better at explaining that stuff than me. So anyway, humbuckers though have a defined hot and ground because now you've got multiple coils, or you have 4 wires, so you have 2 hots, 2 grounds. It starts to matter what you're doing. Telecaster pickup, this is not a super traditional one, but the Telecaster pickup has a base plate. A lot of times your ground wire is wired to your base plate. So now you don't want this to be the hot, because this is what the bridge screws into and everything else. So that's gonna be your ground. So now this is the defined hot. This is the defined ground. So as we start getting into more complex pickups, we start to be able to see which one's hot and which one's ground. It's no longer as simple as either one. This is our basis of our guitar sound, but each pickup gets a little bit more complicated and a little bit more like, oh, this has to be this way. So, without getting into the construction of different pickups, because that could be a whole video or like 7 videos, I'm using Firebird pickups. In this case, this is a defined hot and a defined ground. So we're gonna go here and we're gonna go pickup 1, pickup 2. Okay, we know there's a ground. We don't have to write that on there. I always do because I just like to know it. Okay, these are gonna go to the switch. Now we gotta explain the switch. The way that I like to draw these, and there's a million ways to do it, is like this. Okay? We've got switches. Okay, it's hard to see. Let me move my camera angle. All right, so we're looking at this switch. And the way that I drew this down here, come on tracking, come on baby, there we go. The way that I drew this is my tab that is touching the track. This is my tab here. There we go. This is my tab right here. That is the long one, okay? That one is touching this track and it's on all the time. Right now, this tab is touching this guy. In the middle position, this tab is touching this guy, right? And then on this side here, this tab is touching this guy. So we have the long and the shorts. I'm gonna take this pickup and attach it to there. I'm gonna take this pickup and attach it to there. So now, in this position, in one position, this pickup is attached to here, in one position it's attached to here, and one position is attached to here. Well, let's make it attached to these two. So let's call this now my neck position, right? Middle position, bridge position. Do you see what I'm saying? Does that make sense? We have 4 tabs. In each position, in each place, one tab is touching one. This is connected to one. So we have bridge, middle, neck. On the same thing going on here, bridge, middle, neck. And I'm gonna take this tab, this is my bridge pickup. I've never understood the front and back, by the way. Never understood that. This is also why we're not doing a lot of writing, because my handwriting is amazing. So bridge pickup, is going here. We want it on in the bridge position, and we want it on in the middle position. Okay? So, neck pickup is on in the neck position. The neck pickup is on in the middle position. On this side, the bridge pickup is on in the bridge position, and it's on in the middle position. Well, how do we get this out to the next step? We're going to connect these two together. So now, and this is the trick. When one thing is wired to something else and they're touching, that's what makes sense. That's what everything's touching. So in this position, the neck is touching this, which is touching this guy, which is then gonna go out. In the middle position, they're both hooked up together and they're going out. And then in the bridge position, this is touching this. This is also touching this, which is not hooked up to anything. So this guy's not working. This one is, it's going to the bridge position, it's going out. I want a master volume control. Well, how does our volume control work? We're gonna take a volume, okay? And we're gonna take the bridge pickup. Well, not the bridge, we're taking the switch output. So the switch, this is my master on a switch for a tele-style pickup. For tele-style switch, I know words, oh my God. And we're just gonna go into here, okay? We're gonna send this guy to ground. And then we've got our jack over here, right? Remember how we drew the jack earlier? It's the same way. And we're gonna take the output of this to the jack. This is our volume control. So now we have two pickups going through a switch, out of the switch to a master volume, and out of the volume to the jack. This would work if we didn't want a tone control. This is already fine. We're good to go, right? The Eddie Van Halen guitar, I think it just had one pickup and no tone control. So that makes it even easier. But let's add a tone control. Well, we've talked about this. Tone. Now I'm gonna mirror image it because this is how it gets put into an instrument. But it doesn't matter. It's the same thing, right? This side is still this side. This side is still this side. Like it's just backwards. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna send this guy to ground. Is that what I'm gonna do? Sure, why not? And then I'm gonna take this is my capacitor, and it's going to the input of my volume control. So now I have a tone control, which is siphoning off highs. This is a diagram for a tele-style guitar, any tele-style guitar. So the next thing we got to do is wire it up. Okay, so now we're actually going to solder. I'm not going to go through soldering because there's plenty of channels that do that really well. I will tell you, having a soldering iron that has a base is super important. And I use a Hacko FX888DX. It's an expensive iron, but it heats up super fast. I just watched Mr. Glenn was talking about less expensive irons, Mr. Glenn's pickups, and Marcus Reeves was talking about less expensive irons. Mr. Glenn builds pickups, Marcus builds amazing guitar pedals. They both know more about soldering. They've probably forgotten more about, the saying, whatever, it doesn't matter. The point is this, we're gonna do it. I'm not gonna talk about soldering too much because there are experts out there and I don't need to get into all the basics. I can tell you this, I didn't tell you how cool I am. I've done this professionally for a long time as a tech, and basically I am very familiar with soldering, etc. And this is how I do it. So check it out. First things first, I need to set my grounds. We're going to talk about where the ground comes from at the very end, but do you remember in the diagram how my volume knob has a ground here and my tone knob has a ground here? Yes. Is that right? I lied to you. I did that backwards. This ground is supposed to be on this side. Because it's a mirror image, and I'm fixing it now, and I'm sorry. And I will put a thing on the thing saying it's backwards. There we go. Okay. See? This is why I have a hard time with diagram. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Point is this. So, ground, right? Okay? That's this tab here and this tab here that are going to ground. I'm just going to grab a pair of needle nose pliers and I'm going to bend this tab back against the body of the pot. See that? I'm gonna do the same thing on this side. There's a million ways to do this. People use the lead of the capacitor, all types of stuff. Whatever. The point is, I'm doing it this way. Okay? Bang. Now, I'm just gonna take a little bit of solder and tack that down. I'm using 6040 rosin core solder. And I don't know, I got this from, Aisha from Low Sound said this is the stuff she uses. And so I bought it. It's the thin diameter. I used to buy the thicker stuff. I didn't know you could get like super thin diameter solder. So I would buy the thick stuff from Home Depot. And then I got the thin stuff and it changed my world. So, okay. There we go. Those two grounds are set. Now the other thing, I just want to check and make sure that this plate is conductive, right? The easiest way to do that, have this clamped in place, by the way. I don't use this octopus thing a lot, but I'm using it today, and so it is what it is. But we're gonna get our meter out, and this is just set so that when two probes are touching, so you can just check and make sure, there we go. So all these things are now touching each other. This is why ground is important. Okay, the plate here, this guy is screwed into the plate. This guy is screwed into the plate. This guy is screwed into the plate. So now the housings of all of these are attached. This back of this plate. Now I've taken this tab and I've soldered it to here. So this tab is now soldered essentially to this plate. This backing is attached to this backing is attached to this backing because they're all soldered together. I hope that makes sense. Essentially, whatever, I can't get crazy. I'm just explaining how this works. But basically, if you have 2 points, as soon as two wires are soldered together, whatever they're touching on either side is also attached, right? So these are all things that are going to ground. They're all attached to this plate for now. We need to add an additional ground. I'm going to explain how. All right, the next thing that I do is I take a capacitor. Now this is complete and total overkill, all right? But I do like it because these leads are super, super powerful, and I'm just gonna bend it up. I want it to just kind of fit in here real nice. This is, again, it's a $6 or $7 capacitor. I don't know what they cost now actually with inflation and stuff. It's a Sozo, I'm pretty sure it's a 22, 500 volts DC. So we're not getting anywhere near the rating of this capacitor, and it's ridiculous to use it, but I do like it. And I like to bend these leads. I try to make everything as pretty as I can. If you want to see really pretty soldering, again, Marcus Reeves, Reeves Electro, like there's just nothing like it. And remember, once again, let me go back to my my diagram here. Okay, just so you can see it. But the tone knob, or the tone control, right, this tab is going to go to this tab of the volume control. So what is that? Well, that's this middle tab right here. Sun's starting to come in. Middle tab here to this guy here. Okay, and so I'm just going to check it before I trim it, because you can never measure twice, cut 3 times, or whatever the saying is. And where are my clippers? My clippers are over there. Okay. Oh, the shop is not set up for filming. I can promise you that. So we're gonna just trim this guy. Check it again. Okay, trim this guy. And then I left a little extra on there too, just so I can. It may have been a mistake. It may have been a mistake. See, this is the stuff. I don't want you seeing this stuff. It's embarrassing. It's not really. I don't really care what you think. So there we go. Come on, man. All right, so we all struggle. Some more than others, me more than most. Oh, look at that. It just stayed right in place. Now, I'm gonna tack it in place, and then I'm gonna adjust, because once I have a piece of solder on there, I can kind of move it where I want it. So I'll tell you what, adding the camera certainly makes this process a lot more challenging. I'll tell you that for sure. So let's just let's do it this way. So I'm just adding some solder on this side, okay? And you'll see it's now stuck in place, all right? But I don't want it stuck there. I want it sitting up just because I think it looks prettier and it makes it easier to do the rest of the wiring. So hold it in place again. And now, haha, it's in place. Now, you might be going, Matt, why did you do the capacitor first? For two reasons. Number one, it's fun. Number two is I can take this wire, the lead wire from the capacitor, and I can use that for this part, for the switch part, right? Now, again, I want to just check and make sure. All right, I know where it's going to go. My neck position. Okay, neck is here. These two. All right. And bridge is these two. Okay, so we're going to do this. We're going to bend it across, and we're going to have it be rocking. So check this out. Same thing, where I just want to just measure first, bend it. Okay. That's what I'm talking about. That looks great. So, and the same thing, I can start by just tacking. I'm just kind of curling it a little bit because this is obviously curled a little bit, and so I just want everything to kind of, you know, I want a mechanical connection as well as a soldered connection. Who was it? Was it Reeves? Somebody commented on one of Marcus Reeves, who's like one of the best solderers of all time, by the way. Somebody commented on one of his videos like, dude, it's not glue, and it made me laugh so hard. Dude, the level of like expertise on the internet of people who've never done it, it's just wild. I'm not swearing. You can notice that I'm trying to not swear. And let's also clamp this back down. See, we had to open it to get the meter out. Now it's just a freaking mess. All right, now the camera angle's messed up. All right, so let's see. Okay, is that good? Okay. So anyway, whatever. People were giving this guy who's just like one of the experts of all time advice. You know, it's just like, come on, bro. Now the other thing is obviously tinning. I don't know if I've talked about that at all. I didn't do it on the capacitor. I probably should have. But you just want to get solder on both attachments before you solder because it makes the bond better. And then you burn your fingers. But you know, it's all good. We're gonna get it in place. So let's just move that puppy a little bit back. There we go. Okay. And we're going to be looking for mechanical connections on all parts as well as the solder connection. So just bending everything in place, right? And again, you know, this is stuff that you don't have to do. You could just do a wire. You could do multiple wires, whatever. It's this level of connection is overkill, and I'm here for it. You know, I'm a fan of making everything as insanely, you know, built as possible. So, especially stuff that can break, stuff that, you know, this is stuff that you don't want a problem with a connection inside your guitar. It's not as bad as a loose connection inside an amp, for example, but it's not good. So anyway, there we go. So that's all connected and soldered now. And you know, certain companies use less solder, more solder, whatever. I like to kind of bury everything. That's how I do it. All right, so now you'll notice that we have these connections in, right? So this guy here, and we have the capacitor in. So what are we missing? We're missing the output from the volume control, and we're missing the output from the switch, and then we got to get the pickups and the jack going. But first things first. So I like to use yellow wire. I don't know why. I mean, I love black and white too. I love black. Let's use white. Let's go black and white today. Okay. Oh my God, it was a mistake. It was a mistake. So I have a bunch of wire, and I'm gonna get some wire strippers, which are again behind the camera. Aren't you guys glad I don't do shop videos all the time? It would be a nightmare. Anyway, whatever. This is what it is. So, we're gonna take this. We're just gonna strip back a little bit. Now, I like these strippers. They have no notches. I just control them with my fingers. Doesn't matter. If you like the ones with the notches, get those. Doesn't matter. There's my wire, and it doesn't have a ton of lead. Right? It's just stripped it a little bit so you can get to it. I'm gonna get some of the solder back here, and I'm gonna tin the wire. This is again one of those things. It just makes your life better. And I'm going to just put it here. Bang. Right? Rocking. And it's not going anywhere. It's through the hole. And then I'm gonna slip it like this. Under here, I'm gonna measure to where I want it. I'm gonna cut it. And then I can make it all pretty. All right. Bang. See that? Nice. Now, same thing, I'm gonna tin this wire and get it in the frame, because you guys really need to make sure you see me tinning the wire. That's super important. Okay. Pop it through the same hole here, right? No extra lead that we need to cut or anything. And then I can slip my wire back to where I wanted it so it looks all nice and pretty. See that? That's what's up. And then we're gonna add an output wire. Are we gonna do that now? Yeah, let's do it. No. Let me get the guitar out so we can get the pickups in, and then we'll do the jack last. I'm just noticing too, I want a little more solder on this tab just because the sun's hitting it and I can see what's happening. Okay, bang. All right. Okay, so here's the guitar, and I had to put the ferrules in the back because can't put these in until I can hammer everything into the back. But I gotta tell you, so this is super light. It's Western red cedar. It's gonna be a relic. I gotta kind of do a couple more things to it, but it's awesome. I don't believe, again, you can already see, like, it's super lightweight and the wood is super soft in like a good way. But man, this one hammered in weird. The grain caught it or something because everything was lined up. And then so now I can't sell this thing until I fix that. I don't know what I'm gonna do. If you are a builder and you work with some of these super soft woods, would you help me out? Let me know how you deal with hammering these into the back. Because man, it just, I'm super bummed out. Whatever, I'm gonna figure it out. And you know, I may not sell it. I mean, this is, whatever. I'm excited about this guitar. It seems, it's super lightweight. We're gonna do a whole thing on different necks, whatever. We're there. So, I have the pickups, they're mounted because you didn't need to see that. And you have pickup 1, pickup 2. This is the neck pickup. This is the bridge pickup. If you're like, how can you tell? They're coming through different holes. Now, the first thing we haven't talked about, we've talked about it, what we haven't talked about is where it comes from, and that is ground. Now, if you've ever had a single coil guitar or humbucker guitar, but a single coil guitar, you take your hand off the strings and it's buzzing. You put your hand back on, it's not buzzing. Well, that's your ground. And so, where's my green wire? You guys enjoy me like slowly coming on, that's right there, slowly coming unraveled during these videos? It's fun. So I'm gonna this hole right here is where the bridge goes, okay? And right, it just goes right here. And so I'm gonna just run a wire through there, and this is my ground wire. Now, I'm gonna put the bridge on because I want everything inside to be as clean as possible. With these lap steels, I make a little shim that goes underneath the bridge. And then we're gonna put the bridge right here. I'm gonna run that wire right in between where the 2 screw holes go, so that when I put the bridge down, it's being clamped down in 2 places. It's really overkill. But we want to make sure. Oh, I gotta take the tape off of this. Another Forney guitars. This is the bridge. He doesn't even give me a discount, you guys. I'm not. This isn't like a. Doesn't. It's not that he doesn't even. He's a small builder. He's like a one-man band with a machine shop who's crushing it. I didn't ask for a discount, and I don't want one. Like, let's support these guys, right? I'll pass the cost on. But everything's made in the USA. Everything is super cool. I'll probably end up polishing that up, but for the sake of this video, let's do it. And then let's normalize making torque screws, putting torque screws on guitars. That's my favorite thing in the world. Let's normalize not putting flathead screws on guitars. That would be the thing that I hate the most. How do I do this with the camera? Okay. All right, so make sure the wire is where it needs to be. Run a torque screw in there. Hit the camera mount because this is not built for this. There we go. All right. So the only reason to do that, I've got more stuff I got to do. I got to drill the holes. I got to do all this stuff. But I want to make sure that this wire is the right length. Okay, and you can see that the wire is super long right now, which is fine. Okay. Now this is our string ground. This is our ground wire. It's where it's going to come from. So I'm going to take this. And again, I want extra wire. I don't want it super so clean that you can't work on the guitar. One of the things that I have learned, one of the things that I do is make sure that they are easy to work on. It's one of the reasons I love Tellys. It's 2 screws and you can get to the controls. It's 2 screws and you can get to the jack. And we're gonna put the jack here with extra length again, so that everything's not like stuck, like you could pull the jack out and just replace it without having to take anything else off. It's super important to me. It's one of the things that, you know, having been a tech for a long time, whether you're on the side of a stage or somebody needs a quick repair, if you got to take the whole guitar apart to replace the jack, you know, my partner's old Ford, you had to take the whole front end off to replace the headlight, and it's like, this is ridiculous. Like, what? Anyway, whatever. So people who work on cars or work on guitars, and people who design guitars can be different people. I've complained about this before, and I will complain about it more because it's ridiculous. Make it easy to work on. So anyway, here's our string ground. Bang. And you'll notice I'm just using this as my ground. I'm going to use another part as ground in a second, but that's going to be its own thing, and we may have to adjust some, whatever. This is the problem with using older. This was a whole different route before, so it was a whole different vibe. Okay, whatever. Let's do pickups. Now, we're just gonna look and see. I mean, again, I did this, but let's make sure. Okay. Okay, bridge. Nope, that's neck. Neck, middle, nothing. Neck, middle, nothing. So here we are again. Didn't double check my work. Put it on wrong. So let's fix it because that's ridiculous. Neck, middle. No, I did it right. Okay, so bridge goes here. No, yes, bridge goes here, and bridge is attached to here and then here. Okay, good. I was like, man, I've done this a million times. And then neck, there's nothing there. That's because that's on the bridge. Good. Okay, yeah, we're good. Never mind. So bridge is on this side. I'm slowly coming undone. That's cool. And we're just gonna so all we want is, again, we want enough wire. I don't like it when it's used. I like it when it's new. Wow. I mean, that works, but it's ugly as hell, right? So let's do this. Let's do the following. So let's go, it's gonna be about here. And we want it. I'll leave a little extra just because we gotta do this. Also, you get to see how all this works. Now, I'm gonna try to pull this shrink tubing off. No, I'm gonna cut it off. I'll be right back. Okay, and we're back. I've taken all of this off, And as you can see, the sun is making everything really nice and well lit, or whatever. It's a nightmare. So the one thing I do want to do is I do want to add new heat shrink. So we're going to just move this over here for a second. The reason is this. These are going to be our grounds. And if a ground touches a hot, it kills your signal. It just sends everything to ground. That's what basically the volume control is doing, is slowly sending more and more signal to ground. It's not just turning it off, it's sending it to ground. That's basically a blend between, it's a whole, whatever, it doesn't matter. Again, watch people who know what they're talking about. But I do want to have some heat shrink on here so that these leads are not screwing anything up. So first things first, I want to get it to the right length before I do anything else. And it's going to be about here and about here. So what I like to do is this. If I can, I take my strippers and I just strip off the wire I can. And then you see all this extra wire here? Let's take it all and just wrap it around the base here, okay? See? And then this is a pushback wire. We're not gonna do that yet. And then the same thing here. All right, now this is gonna have to be longer because it's going all the way to here. But again, we don't want all this ground because it's possibly gonna short this. So I have two options. What this shielding is doing is shielding us from interference. I don't care. If I really cared, I would heat shrink it all the way, leave a little space here for the ground, and then heat shrink more on the other side. I don't care. Instead, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna cut it here, and then I'm gonna strip it from back here. Now, that's a lot to strip in one shot. So instead, we could probably sharpen the cutters on here. So instead, missed the trash can. I'm gonna do it in sections. So there's one. I want to figure out where I'm gonna go, and then I'm gonna go again. But don't drop that in there. You don't want shards in there. It's another stuff that can just cause problems, and you're chasing it around going like, you know, what's causing the problem? It's like a little piece of like extra wire just sitting around screwing up your life. Okay? I'm holding this real tight. I do not want to put pressure on the wire where it attaches to the pickup. That would be a problem. So, let's give it a couple more here. All right. All right, you can see, I'm just checking. I know that there's way too much on here still, but man, you can't add wire. I mean, you can actually. You have to replace the whole wire though, and that's a pain in the ass. Or you got to add jumpers, and that doesn't look nice. And as we know, the insides of a guitar should look nice, or else it's not worth anything. That was a joke. I'm being sarcastic. All right, so that should probably be about where we want to be, right? That's nice. And then, same thing, we take this and we wrap it around here. Now the next step is going to be heat shrink. What is heat shrink? Well, heat shrink is this tubing. I need to get more heat shrink, man. I'm running out of the long, thin, damn it. All right, well. I could put them both through there. That would be ugly. All right, is this gonna shrink down to the right size? Well, we'll see. All right, so heat shrink is basically this rubber tubing. I would like a smaller tube, to be honest with you. Something like this. So we might do multiple and just make it look uglier. Maybe not, I don't know. See, I want the right size because it shrinks down and makes everything cool. But basically, you know, okay, let's do two. Let's do two. It's not my favorite thing, but at the end of the day, I'd rather have it be right. So we want to have some extra lead in case it gets pulled out and gets put in something else or whatever. You know, there's no point in having to disassemble the pickup. I want to be able to pull this out if I need to get to stuff. Like that's part of the deal. But the heat shrink tubing, what it does is when I apply some heat in the form of fire, it just shrinks down onto onto the wire, right? And we just had to take some off because it was in the way, and that's fine. But we're gonna just add this heat shrink here. It's hot, it's hurting me. I need to get one of those long ones, right? For like barbecue, that'd be cool. Anyway, but we're just trying to just protect the grounds from hitting the hots, from causing a problem. Again, it's one of those things where like if you shake your guitar and something happens, that's a bummer. So we don't want that. And then we're gonna do the same thing on the treble pickup. And then we have two nicely protected pickups. And we're thinking ahead so that, you know, because you can't do this once you've soldered everything in place. So you got to do it in advance. Try not to cook the ground wire. Let's hit the camera. You can see we're good at this. I'm a professional. I can't even see the flame because of the window, but whatever, it's fine. All right. Those are now protected and heat shrunk. For some reason I also like red heat shrink. It's weird, I don't know why. All right, these wires are pushback wires. You don't strip them. You just push them back. Hence the term. And then we solder's right here. Tin it. I don't want my wires all tangled up. That would bum me out. I didn't tin that tab, so we're gonna have to definitely fix that. That'll be a cold joint. So one of the things you gotta look out for is a cold solder joint. You wanna have solder on both pieces in advance so that it'll bond. Otherwise it might look bonded, it might feel bonded, but it's not bonded. You can have them, they're way more, I was gonna say they're worse in amp or something, but they're not. They're not good in anything. You don't wanna have a cold joint. Don't have a cold joint. And then same thing with this guy here. I was gonna do my grounds, but I'm gonna do those last. Push back, there's plenty of wire. All right, remember how I said you never strip these? Well, I lied to you. I'll strip this back a little bit. Okay. It's because it was being a pain. So now I can push it back. And if you strip it and you have all this extra stuff, well, light it on fire. All right, see? There we go. Now, that leads a little long for me. I'm gonna fix it as soon as I do this. So, oh, you can't see it because it's not in the frame. There we go. Wait, is it in the frame now? Yeah. Trying to drop the guitar on the floor. Sorry, it's a relic. Do that, and then same thing. I wanna put it through the hole and then solder, make sure everything flows and is nicely attached. This has a little hook of solder on the end, which actually would be helpful, but okay. All right. Bang. And then finally, we want them on the back of this pot. All right, this is, there we go. No, this actually needs to be, we'll just strip it back like that. Okay, good. Yeah. Now, I don't want anything under tension. I don't want anything taut, because that's another way for solder connections to come apart. So check this out. This is where I'm going to put them. Okay, back here on this edge here. I want to just get a little more on both. Okay, good. And let's just spin that around, make it nice and tight. All right, now we're gonna do one thing here. We're gonna add some solder to the back of the pot first. These can be oily if you need to. Sometimes you have to sand them to get like a little scuffed up area, but these all parts ones have been pretty good. And yeah, that just went right. You can see how it just feeds right on there, makes a nice little pool. Can you see with all the reflections? Okay, we'll see. Hopefully this is a usable video. That would be a bummer. That would be a bummer. That is the biggest bummer when you go to do this and it's like, oh, I can't use this. That's cool. Okay, so we're tinning all the areas because again, this is a lot of mass, right? The back of the pot, these things require a lot more mass than these little connections. So you need a more powerful, you need more heat And if you have the right iron, it's not a problem, but you need to make sure that everything's tinned in advance. And then what I like to do is I like to hold everything down with a screwdriver, because the don't burn yourself method has never failed me. Okay, so we do that. We do that, and you can kind of feel when they bond. And then we let go. They ain't going anywhere. Fully bonded. I'll add a little bit more on top just to bond them to each other, but they are fully bonded, and it's just like, again, just there's nothing wrong with a little bit of overkill. Okay, so we are recording. That's good. I panicked for a second. That's almost everything, right? We need the outputs. Before we do that, though, let's just double check a couple of things. Normally, it's a pretty cocky thing to do, but normally I don't even check these. Normally I just go with it and assume that I did it right. But for the sake of the video and troubleshooting, okay, these should be attached, right? Which means that in the neck position, this is the neck pickup, should be attached to here. Good. In the bridge position, should not be attached. Good. Okay, in the middle position, both should be attached. Do you see how I'm checking that? I'm just going, this should be attached to here. We go back to our diagram. This should be coming out of the switch to the volume control. I want to make sure that that is going to there. Equally, I want to make sure it's not being attached to ground. Now, you want to make sure your volume control is all the way up, because if it's all the way back, then check it out. Now this is going to ground. Okay, that was less impressive because because that's not even hooked up. Whatever. Okay. All right, because this one, it's a whole thing. Whatever. Doesn't matter. Does not matter. There's another attachment that has to be made before that happens, I think. Or maybe it's just a different whatever. This is why I don't do this stuff. But if you have this going to ground, then you have a problem somewhere, right? Make sure that those are not taut. They have slack in them. That's good. Normally, I would like even a little more slack. If I'm being honest, I'm going to redo this because I don't like how tight these are, and I want them to have a little more of a loop here. So I'm going to redo it. But for the sake of the video, we're going to leave it because we got more stuff we got to do. I just want you to know, I don't like how it is. It's bad. It has some slack, but not enough for my liking. All right, output to the jack, the last step. So once again, tin the wire. Now people will tell you not to do this over the guitar, but again, this is a relic, so who cares? Who cares? Not me. You see how long that is? That's too long. If I just go through here, I have too much exposed wire. It's not hitting the casing, but it's not what I want. I want it to be shorter. I want it to go through the hole, and then I want it to not have a lot of extra. Let's get a little more on there. There we go. Okay. Right, and then let's get our black wire. Now you'll notice this green wire is the string ground. I'm keeping that separate from my other grounds because I like having the string ground be a separate color. I like to know, oh, that's my string ground. Okay. Oh, we gotta check ground. I'll show you how to check grounds too. I almost forgot about that. And then finally, our ground wire for the jack, which goes to the same place where this wire goes. And I'm gonna just put it in the same direction, and then I can curl it around and make it look nicer. Come on. And try not to release the other ground. Don't burn anything. Burned wires are always, I'll take the whole wire. I'll take everything apart if there's a burned wire. So there we go. All right. So these are our jack wires. What'd you call me? And I'm gonna cut those off. I'm gonna put this in place, okay? The reason for that is simple. I want to make sure that the jack can come totally out and just be wired. I want to make sure that I can replace the jack just by pulling the jack cup. Okay, I don't want to have to do it all. And also, the jack cups that I use, screw into the side here. So we don't have to worry about that so much. So let's do this. So this is the last thing, right? We have the jack, goes here, and we're gonna just cut these about there. Because again, we want this to be able to flip over. We want this. I'm less worried about a little extra wire, and I'm more worried about being able to service it quickly if something happens in a situation where I need to go quick. Okay, so the camera overheated, so just while I let it cool down, I just resoldered these so I have more slack, because you don't want that. And then I also mounted the jack on the jack cup. This is called a electro socket. It's called an electro socket jack cup, right? And as we've talked about many times, well, we gotta see, I'm getting ahead of myself. Try to get that in the frame. Try not to drop it on the ground. We want to tin our wires. Are we in the frame? Sort of. Tin our wire. Tin our wire. Okay. And then, again, mechanical connection. And then solder connection. Okay. Mechanical connection. Soldered connection. I don't like to wrap, you know, if in an amp you'll wrap the wire around the terminal, I think, or at least that's the ones that I've been seeing. I don't like to do that here because you don't need, there's just not enough voltage to really need to be that precise. And then also, again, I want to be able to service these quick, and so, you know, pull a jack, put a new one in. The jack is the thing that gets okay, maybe I have a bad charger, because now this battery's not charged either. Both batteries are not charged. Cool. All right, well then we'll finish this real quick, and then we'll go to the testing mode. But basically, I hope we saw this in the last one where, yeah, hot and ground, right? You can see how much extra wire there is when the jack's in, right? But the point is, and I should have done this while the battery was exhausted too, but we'll get it going. The point is that once you get everything in here, I want to be able to pull this jack cup. I want to be able to, interesting, we're getting jammed up here for some reason. Oh, because we're caught on a tab. All right. So yeah, this is why you check everything. I want to be able to get in here, have that in, right? And then pull this and be able to get to it easily. It might be a little bit too much, but we'll see. All right, to the test, I'm gonna screw everything together. You don't need to see that, and then we're gonna test it. Okay, and last things last. Now, when I put these together, build them, I'm pretty cocky. I usually figure I have it right, and so I just wait till I put the strings on and test it, and you know, sometimes it works. But for the sake of the video, let's talk about testing it here. I have a tuning fork somewhere. You can always hold a tuning fork above the pickups and you'll get the resonating sounds, and you can hear that the pickups are working if you are afraid of tapping on the covers with your screwdriver. Again, I'm going to slam a slide into this pretty shortly, and as you saw from the close-ups from the video, they're already beat up, so I don't care about the screwdriver tapping method in this case. Bridge pickup, right? Oh yeah, I put the Forney. Dude, these knobs, man. These knobs are the best. What if I hide my face? Yeah. Dude, Forney. Solid brass, so, like, awesome and heavy. Forney bridge, Forney control plate, Forney knobs. You know, it's the best. Okay, so, Bridge pickup, these are on. That's working, right? Volume control, okay? That's working. And then tone control. This could be hard to hear with this preamp situation. We'll see. Let's see what happens. Hopefully you can hear that the high end is rolling off. And then the same thing with the neck pickup. Right. But as check both positions. Good. As we talked about earlier, because these pickups are going into the switch, if this is working on one, it should be working on both. Right? Like we've checked our signal path. I hope this was a fun video. I hope it made sense. I'm way too loud in the microphone in here, but that is what it is. Hopefully it's not clipped. I don't have to do this again. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for watching. And yeah, man, like and subscribe and bell icon and all the stuff everybody else tells you to do. It really would be appreciated. And if you want to support the channel, Patreon. You know, if I get a couple more people over there, you know, if we can get 100 people over there, whatever, we start doing some giveaways or something fun. Anyway, thanks for hanging. I really appreciate you. Have a great day.